So benefit, Honorable Speaker, so that every Kenyan who is supposed to benefits, Honorable Speaker. I can see the Honorable Ben Sauda is happy with this law, Honorable Speaker, because it will help the people of Homa Bay to actually also be reached, so that they say that Serikali has not reached them. Honorable Speaker, this is an important law. I want to urge everybody, including the people that come from the minority leaders' home, so that they also get social protection. So I want to urge everybody and every member that this is a law worth supporting, worth passing, and worth the name of this parliament. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Silvana Sosoro, the Honorable MP of Mugirango South, and Chief Whip of the National Assembly.
Sosoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I second this particular bill, one thing that should be very clear, and really when one grows, or when one is growing, they hardly tell themselves that at some point you'll get old. That in your 30s, you have to know that there is a time you'll be 40, there's a time you'll be 50. Honorable Speaker, when I was a young man, an extremely young man, although you still call me young man, when I was 20, I used to look at people.
You are a very young man.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I agree. Honorable Speaker, when I was 20, the people who are 40 used to look very old to me. I didn't know that 40 was just next door to me, Honorable Speaker. And now that I'm also there, I look at people who are 60 as very old. I know soon I'll also be there. I do not know where to classify you, Honorable Speaker, but that is the reality of life. That at some point, people will get to 60, people will get to 70, people will get to 80. And it is the responsibility of government to take care of the elderly. It is the responsibility of a responsible and well-organized and well-structured government, Honorable Speaker, to take care of the people of such a majority age, Honorable Speaker. Because when you get to the age of 70, looking at the economic status of our country and the opportunities that are therein, Honorable Speaker, if the government does not step in to take care of such people, then challenges will happen. And that is why it is important to the issues of health, the universal health coverage, the issue of social protection are very, very vital, Honorable Speaker, as far as this question of the social protection is concerned. Because looking at the jurisdictions that have grown, that have matured, that are progressive, say, for example, the United States, Honorable Speaker, where there is even provision of funds specifically, and even specifically to take care of those old people, Honorable Speaker. They have clinics. They have people that are employed to manage and do all those kind of things, Honorable Speaker, and they pay that, Honorable Speaker. I don't know why the Honorable Hassan is, I don't know why, Honorable Speaker, protect me from the Honorable. Speaker, protect
Honorable
me.
Hassan, you're out of order.
You can raise the point of information.
If the member on the floor is misleading the House, you know what to do. Go on.
The Honorable Speaker, I'll be guided by him because he really must have traveled. But what I'm saying is that in progressive countries, Honorable Speaker, in progressive jurisdictions, there are provisions for taking care of the elderly and the sick. And this is the culture that we really must develop here, because looking at the rate at which, of course, the mortality rate of this country, Honorable Speaker, the people who are perhaps in their post-50s tend not to live long because of lack of such provisions, Honorable Speaker, the social protection and such elements. So this bill comes in hand, Honorable Speaker, to create structures on who exactly is supposed to benefit, on the roles the board or the cabinet secretary, those responsible are going to, those responsible should be doing. So it really clears the way for the formation of a well-structured form or format to help in crafting and coming up with a very good structure of settling those people who are in the age of the majority. So, Honorable Speaker, with those very many remarks, I beg to second.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I'll now propose the question at order number 9, which is the Social Protection Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2025, be now read a second time. Honorable members, I see a lot of names on the screen. They were there when we started. I don't know if they are for this bill. If you are not for this bill, log out. Yes, Janet?
Mr. Speaker, I stand up to raise the issue of quorum, Mr. Speaker. Whether we have quorum in the House, Mr. Speaker, to discuss this bill. Where is the number? What are you rebuking? What are you rebuking? What are you rebuking? What are you rebuking about? No. There is no bill that will pass in this house going forward. No way. No. Embarrassing that we are crossing other bills. Ikifika hiyo ndio wanataka kuembarrass wewe that they are calling for quorum. When we reach that number,
Yes.
that order is when they want to call for quorum. Look bad on you. Keep quiet.
Clerk, do we have quorum? Honorable members, we have 35 members. We need 50. Sergeant, ring the bell. And the whips, do your job.
That's the wrong procedure. People can't leave it.
Are you ringing the bell? No, it's Junet.
Kimayo is the one who said this thing that when the bill comes, they will walk out.
Ndio nikuoneshe penye tuli hiring of chiefs, assistant chiefs, and so forth on national administration. We had a session 2 weeks ago with a comprehensive answer on the floor of the House, and therefore this is I will just restrict myself to the specific issue of Nyaribari's Masaba constituency. Otherwise, there were so many follow-up questions on the floor. The vacancies, part one is the recruitment of the chief and assistant chief, including any challenges we may have faced, if any. The vacancies of chief and assistant chiefs occur regularly as a result of attrition, i.e. death, retirement, resignation, dismissals, and promotions. Therefore, the recruitment and selection process of chiefs and assistant chiefs is a continuous process, and there are no, there are no challenges in filling vacant locations and sub-locations across the country. Number two, Mr. Chair, is the measure put in place to ensure that any vacant position for chief and assistant chiefs are filled promptly, thereby eliminating gaps in administrative service faced at the affected grassroots level. Mr. Chair, the filling of a vacant location and sub-location caused by attrition is undertaken promptly to ensure continuity of service delivery at the grassroots level. During the recruitment and selection process, the vacant units are administered by serving assistant chiefs in acting capacities, while assistant chiefs from neighboring sub-locations are deployed to serve in vacant sub-locations, awaiting for formal filling of the positions. This eliminates the administrative gaps in governance and service delivery at the grassroots level. Number three, a definitive timeline for when the vacant position of chief and assistant chiefs in Nyaribari Masaba constituency will be filled. Mr. Chair, the Principal Secretary granted authority to appoint the chiefs and assistant chiefs in respect to the following administrative units, namely Ikorongo and Irianyi locations, and Kegogi, Gekonge, Ikenye, Ibacho, Mesabisabi, Nyanturago, and Nyangononi sublocations. The appointees have been informed of the outcome of the interview and have commenced the process of having their academic and professional certificates authenticated by Kenya National Examination Council and other issuing institutions leading to their immediate deployment after completion of the process. In other words, Mr. Chair, the formal interviews and so forth have been done. What's remaining is just the final verifications before they can be put in office. That should happen as soon as possible. Number two.
Chair, please, can I respond, Chair? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Bonasias. I must admit that I'm very satisfied with your answer. But then there's some salient matters that happen in our constituency, and I do not wish to put them on record because your administrative unit is well versed. You appointed a chief in Ibacho against the advice of the Member of Parliament, and the matter ended up in court. That has since been reversed. And you recently appointed another sub-chief in Ichuni. The sub-chief cannot take office because of those salient issues, the dynamics that are local. So my only advice, Mr. CS, is to kindly ask your team to do proper due diligence before appointing such people to such offices. Thank you.
I think we take the advice of the public seriously, and that includes also the Member of Parliament in terms of part of the due diligence that is being carried out through security agencies. The only challenge we face, not necessarily in your county, but across the country, is the political competition between different actors, particularly in places where clanism is very strong. You find situations where this clan, these leaders of this clan or this sub-clan are fighting over who should take up the position. Sometimes that protracts appointments of chiefs and assistant chiefs for very long. We had a session the other day with Public Service Commission, because this is a process that involves the Public Service Commission, and part of the challenges we've been having is how do you depoliticize the process of hiring chiefs and assistant chiefs so that we focus on their competence and capabilities of the individual and acceptability by the people he's going to lead, because it's also important. This is not like an ordinary job where you just go for interview. The people's satisfaction is also important. So those views are taken very seriously, whether it's coming from the community or from the stakeholders like leaders like yourself, religious leaders, and so forth. The other challenge we face with this hiring of chiefs and assistant chiefs is that generally the people may want a certain person, and if that person is very competent, he's been volunteering, he's been, is acceptable in the whole community. But unfortunately, you find that either they don't have the requisite academic qualifications, or in some cases where we've found, you find that their academic qualifications are of questionable actually academic qualifications are questionable. That's what I try to mean. That's why this vetting takes time to satisfy ourselves that the academic qualification provided for. It should not take too long, though, because this should be straightforward. You write to NEC or the university, and they should be able to respond. It's also important to use this opportunity to say not all areas where there is mandatory achievement of that academic qualification. There are some marginalized areas where people may not meet that qualifications, and usually a waiver is sought through the Public Service Commission, so that it's on record that despite the academic qualification not being achieved, the waiver was done. So I take your concerns seriously, but some of the court cases also are lost for different reasons, and some are political and clan fights taken all the way to courts, and sometimes it ties our hands on what needs to be done. And sometimes also things about somebody was not born here, he doesn't come from here, those kind of issues. They are very sensitive, but they are important at a local level. Thank you, Chair. Sorry I just wanted to broaden the response. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. Maybe before Waziri vacates that question, I'm happy the Honorable colleague has said he's satisfied. But my concern is really in the delay. From the time maybe one chief retires to the time the next one is appointed. There's need to have that predictable timeline, because the headquarters are the ones who are supposed to announce that a vacancy exists in location A or in sublocation B. And I think this is almost a universal concern of members and communities, that we need to put some silent policy in place such that it doesn't take 2-3 years to replace an assistant chief or a chief. Thank you, Chairman.
Chair, just
Sarah,
yeah.
A follow-up question again? Okay, just in a minute so that we can we have got quite a number lined up.
Okay, Chair, mine is not a question but it's a concern. The response is very good and it's universal. It cut across almost all the country concerning recruitment and placement of chiefs and assistant chiefs. But CS, there's something which your team need to reconsider. One, the NIS report, it seems of late your teams are disregarding these reports, which are very important. Or in my constituency, we have areas where a slum and an area where is a cattle rustling, you place assistant chief who is a female, who cannot wake up at night and go and follow. That's a very, just a moment.
Point of order, Chair. Why can't a female chief wake up at night?
Chair, I think
that is not, there is no policy, there is no law that says that women cannot do.
Just
Masara, withdraw that one. I mean,
allow me, before I withdraw, allow me to defend it, because we are,
withdraw it.
The social, the media is here.
Masara, you know procedures.
The truth of the matter is,
Masara,
areas
I'm saying you're out of order. You need to withdraw that.
Are you sure?
That's discriminatory against women. Our laws and Public Service Act is very clear. Nothing discriminate whichever sex or gender. Withdraw that.
Chair, I agree with you to some extent, but the truth of the matter.
Masara,
okay, let me rephrase it.
I'm saying withdraw the statement.
Okay, I withdraw it.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is
We need to save time.
there are some... Chair, why don't you just give me time? Or I start if you don't want me to talk.
I'm saying.
I withdraw that one, but I had other issues.
Go on.
Okay. Let me withdraw and leave you to proceed. Because what we are trying to say is that we are helping the ministry on issues, the feedback, which they can't get themselves, but people on the ground can give them the feedback. And this is the right opportunity to give. The other issue I had, is the duration of vacancy, which has been mentioned by my brother here. When somebody is acting, assistant chief and chiefs, to the local people, they are the real government. They meet each and every day. There are some areas where the chief is their government. They meet. And there are some integrities in communities which somebody from another clan cannot handle. For example, when they act for 2 years, the issue of land. Somebody may not feel they fought for the land, and then assistant chief from another area where they fought for that land is acting, coming to organize their issues of land. It brings a lot of issues. So it is important that you seek for issues on the ground before deploying somebody. I'm mentioning this because there has been in my area where assistant chief or a chief cannot be allowed to perform its acting capacity in a different area because of those reasons. And finally, the issue which you really responded about politics and leadership. You cannot disengage the two, because chief is about leadership. So when the community are having issue with specific reasons, you need to listen to, or they need to be addressed in a way that they get satisfied. That was my concern, Chair.
Okay.
Yeah. Chair, Buonasias, welcome. I have a similar question which our vice raised, the issue of delay. In my constituency, Buonasias, I have about 3 places of sub-locations which have always been advertised. Interviews were done, but we are waiting for the results from Nairobi. And I think I have talked to Beverly. Beverly is always very responsive. That's number one. Number two is an issue of an assistant chief who was accused of some problem in the constituency, and he was stopped. Now, later, he was found to be innocent, and I have asked the office to reinstate that assistant chief. He's a good assistant chief. So, and I've talked to Beverly, she's always responsive, and I would like that assistant chief to be reinstated. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. For the record,
you introduce yourself, then we have the members who have joined us introduce themselves, at least to get into record. Then you do your question.
Okay, thank you, Chair. For the record, I am Rosa.
Okay, yeah.
Akinyi Buyu, Member of Parliament, Kisumu West Constituency. And Chair, I got a bit delayed because our flight from Kisumu was delayed, but I'm here.
The members who have joined us can introduce themselves.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Waziri, Honorable Hussein Weitan, Member of Parliament, Mandera East.
Thanks, Chair. I'm Boruka Hangara, MP Larry, and committee member.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Liz Chelule, County MP Nakuru, and a member of this committee.
Back to you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to take us back to Article 27. These positions of chiefs and assistant chiefs for a long time were actually left for the male gender. But I know that women of the female chiefs and assistant chiefs are actually performing higher than they were actually expected to perform. And I want to make a special appeal for special consideration when females actually present themselves for interviews and pass, and their names are part of the names that come to the headquarters for consideration. I want to make a special appeal for affirmative action, that the female chiefs are actually so loyal and dedicated, and nothing deters them even from going to Changadens. Some of them work so well, and in their areas, you find that Changa, which is prevalent in many places, the rate of trading in Changa and actually taking Changa is actually brought to minimum. So I want to make a special request and special appeal to the headquarters that when you're considering, if any name of a female comes to you as one of the 3 names that are presented to you, kindly give them consideration for affirmative action. And particularly, I've seen this in Kisumu West. I know I've made appeals, and many times you've responded to those appeals, not because they failed, but because they are part of the names that have come to you. I just want to make that special appeal for the whole country. If you see names of female chiefs, don't think they are not able. There's no reason why Rosa cannot wake up at night and leave her husband in bed and go out to fight those cattle rustlers or to fight the Changa brewers. Rosa will leave the husband in bed and go. So let not be one of the ways or one of the discriminatory ways of ensuring that women do not get jobs that they can otherwise perform. Thank you.
I will implore as members anyway, okay, the interest may be much, but let's not be repetitive. At least a question that has been already asked, you skip so that we can address the rest of the question. What is it? Maybe you start with?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. This is a very important topic, and you know, Kenya is diverse, and there are a lot of areas might not be the same. These are our mothers, they are our sisters, we have no problem. But what I'm saying is that societies, not all societies have accepted these kind of things. Like now in our area, it is very hard to give these positions to a lady. Some of the positions we gave, I can assure you, it's just, you know, it's as if there is no even person. I'm saying, I know I'm going to the question, but I'm saying there are a lot of diversity in Kenya. So let's accept our cultures. And what is the other thing, in our area now, in Northeastern, and where I come from, most of the chiefs that were employed before devolution and even before were illiterate, completely illiterate. They have never gone to class. Waziri, I'm saying most of the chiefs were illiterate before 2009 and before. And let me tell you, those ones are now retiring, almost all of them. And those are the people that we rely on. Unfortunately, these young guys who performed very well in school, I'm sure there are people who served in, you know, administration like Sigay and our friends. There is a problem. We have a very big problem. But there is no problem solving, you know, strategies. There are no. Those illiterates were better, 100%. Right now, what we have in Northeastern, and I'm sure as security agents, you will be able to do your own, you know, investigation. Most of the young guys, Mera, you know, those kind of things, they don't even report to their place of work. So in fact, we prefer you going back to the illiterate chiefs. Okay. I can assure you, because there is a problem, and because of the insecurity, because of the problems that are there, they are the ones who can solve the problems. They are part of the society, and in fact, very soon, even MCS. My dad was a councillor and a mayor in Mandera for 20 years. He was an illiterate. He never went to class. And one of the most popular councillors in the area, most of the MBC are aware. Right now, when we got these literate ones, there's a problem. We are not going
Thank you so much, Wetad. I know CA can confirm. He's a friend to your dad. You ever say that. Kaunya, 1 minute, please. We quite have a lot of questions.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, what I wanted to emphasize is one point Honorable Manduku mentioned. The issue of due diligence is very important for chief selection. What I've noted based on my experience, and I think Honorable Segei, we were in the field. At that time, we had very, very disciplined chiefs and very hardworking. So 2 things I've noted. So one is
kindly ask a question. You know you are making a comment. Kindly make a question so that we move.
Chair, I'm addressing the point that was raised about due diligence. And mine is really just a comment to say that the ministry, the CS, should take serious consideration of the aspect of due diligence when appointing chiefs and assistant chiefs. And that is very key, because if we want chiefs who will deliver, that's important. Chiefs definitely must be resident within the areas. Where a chief is appointed from outside and is non-resident, it becomes a problem. And I think, finally, Chair, there is the issue of empowering these chiefs. You need to empower these chiefs so that they are able to perform. After the 2010 Constitution, I think the powers of the chiefs looks like they are not doing what they are supposed to be. So they need to be empowered.
Okay. Waziri, you can, of course, use your discretion and wisdom on how you respond to the question number, but I want to call upon members, especially of my committee. Of course, we are riding on the members' questions. And there's nothing that holds us from calling the CS another day to talk about the welfare policy and the rest. So let's try to restrict ourselves if we need to. In fact, I will prefer we give more preference to the members who sought the statements, kindly, so that we can able to move. So, Waziri, back to you.
I totally agree that due diligence is important. Usually that is done. It's done by the National Intelligence Service, assisting and supporting the other security agencies. It's also done by the officers who are working in that area, the ACC, the DCC, and the regional commissioner. So there is a collection of information across the board, and it helps because the ACC, DCC, and RC are not from that area, so they can have an objective recommendation. Usually, and let's be very honest about this, is that the biggest challenge is usually the politics. You know, this politician wanting against this clan against the other, and the governor is on one side, the senator is on another, the MP is on another side, and so all these issues, you know, end up compounding a situation. But the due diligence is done. I also agree that the other issue is qualifications. The insistence on academic qualifications has robbed the service or the national administration of the opportunity to get actually very strong people who necessarily don't have the same academic qualifications as enlisted by in the Public Service Commission. As I said earlier, there is a discretion somewhere we can play with, but that discretion is very minimal. Some chiefs are very good. I know some places I have gone, whether in Kerio Valley region or the Northeastern, where the people are really insisting that it would have been nice to have this person become the chief, even if their papers are not right. And then, you know, because of this insistence of papers, some of them also go ahead and get fake papers. In the process, you lose a very important person who would have been given a waiver, but already because he has submitted papers, he is already being investigated for fraud. So already his record now is even worse than if it was only about the papers. So it's an issue that because there is a ongoing review of the laws and policies governing the administrative units in the country, national administration generally, this is an issue that we must have, we need to take up, especially at a lower level. On the question of the gender, it's also a issue of great concern. Outside the, I mean, I would say, Mr. Chair, and I'm not defending Honorable Masara, that what he said is the raw feelings of many people in some places, the same way Honorable Itana said, although it is sometimes misguided. It is just based on, you know, prejudices of the past. There is no reason why a lady cannot be able to do the job. And many places where we have women being the chiefs or assistant chiefs, they have done a fantastic job. Sometimes it's because, I guess sometimes because as a woman to just get there is extremely difficult. So by the time they're reaching there, they have no chance of making any mistakes, they whatever. I must confess, Mr. Chair, that I live in two places, in Trans Nzoia and in Elgeyo Marakwet, and in both cases, where the chiefs are female, and they do a very good job. And particularly from my ward, which is a border ward, and with many security issues, my chief is doing very well, and many other chiefs are local.
Yes, why don't you just say that the female chiefs are more diligent and loyal and hardworking? Don't be
Yes, just ignore that. Don't get distracted.
That is also correct.
Please, Your Honor,
That's also
he took the mic without permission.
But the point I'm making is that as we progress, recently we, in the hiring of chiefs and assistant chiefs in Kotulo sub-county, one of them was a lady, and I was very happy to, when we were releasing their names, to see that there is a lady from the frontier counties who was qualified and willing to serve as a chief, and I think these things will change over time. The other reason why we should not, we came up with Ngapu, the national government administration unit of the police, to help the administrative units, is specifically for that reason, to help chiefs, regardless of their gender, especially enable them to do enforcement. You know that chiefs in Western recently and other parts of the country, including in Mombasa, their houses have been burned while they were pursuing criminals or trying to enforce the law on drugs and abuse of alcohol and so forth. So with this support of Ngapu, it will be easy for the chiefs to be able to do their job. We have also said that because the chiefs undergo paramilitary training, those chiefs that feel their lives are in danger can be licensed to carry firearm based on their request. And if that request is done, as you know, civilians make requests even at the moment and they get the license to carry firearm. So there is no reason why they should not be supported. On the issue of, yes, in terms of where, if the assistant chief is acting and is from this clan and, you know, maybe they have no faith, what I would say is that, yes, it is true that we should be able to expedite the process, but it's also true that once you are a chief or an assistant chief, you should be impartial in your service. The fact that you will do it for your clan or the other is a problem. We keep receiving intelligence reports of some chiefs who are involved in clan fights or intercommunal fights, supporting their clan against the other one. That should not be the case, and that even attracts disciplinary process if such a chief was to be found. So chiefs also, beside coming from certain area with certain clans and certain tribes, especially in border counties where we know that communities are living across each other's border, chiefs must be very sensitive to ensure that they understand that they are serving Kenya. They are not serving their clan or their community. So notwithstanding your concerns, it's very important for the chiefs, as we continue training them, to appreciate that they are serving Kenyans, regardless of their community or their tribe. Yes, I agree with the Vice Chair of the committee that we need to have a determined time period, and I take it as part of the reforms to make sure that we go and agree on, even if the process takes long, but not later than a certain period of time. If we say 6 months or 3 months or 6 months, it should reach a particular period of time that a vacancy should not be, unless really a court order or some other issues. But the normal filling process must have capped timeline, and I take it positively that it will be part of our engagement with Public Service Commission. And then what was the other? Affirmative action. Yeah, I agree. We have already agreed on affirmative. Just on a light note, that Honorable Rosa, she can also leave her husband in bed, or they can go together with the husband. In any case, they signed that for good or for worse, the husband can escort her. She goes and does, and there is no problem. And then I think I have captured generally all the issues that were being raised, except, yes, I think all those issues. Thank you very much. Actually, these processes, even though I am defending here from the ministry, largely, the process is introduced from the Public Service Commission. So even as I commit, it's an engagement between the Ministry and Public Service Commission to make sure that we streamline the processes to be be responsive.
So thank you so much, CS. I think
if with your permission, Mr. Chair,
yes,
I know you had given a particular order of responding to these questions, but there is this very related question of, if I could just summarize it from Kuresoi, which is also on the administrative units, unless a question where the member is not around cannot be responded to because I don't see the member. But it goes together, the answer, it follows. If I can do it for the record.
Do for record,
yeah.
You know, definitely this is a document of the House.
Yeah.
But at least we keep members who probably have got other engagement and their question has been addressed, like Honorable Manduku. He had already expressed that he may want to step out.
Since it's related, it's just 2 minutes.
But now maybe there is a Sigei had asked a question, and I'm sure he had asked on behalf of many Kenyans. There are times we can have some chiefs who are probably interdicted based on maybe allegation of some fake certificates. Later, maybe the court establish the opposite. And it takes a lot of time or forever to have them reinstated. In fact, to give an example, CS, in my own county of Narok, and I'm sure even Beverly knows, there's one chief who unfortunately died on Friday. He just collapsed, heart attack, died. I wanted to, that chief, and Beverly know, somebody, Grandpa or somebody, you know, he has been actually, I think, coming to the office. This chief was interdicted on allegation of fake certificates. Of course, even another chief was put in his place. They went to court, verification of papers were done, and the opposite was confirmed. I think out of those frustration or something and all that related, on Friday, when actually he was attending the wedding of his daughter, I think he got some heart complication, pressure went up, and he died. We are going to bury him on Friday. We cannot able to say maybe that was the cause, but you never rule out. So Sigei is talking on behalf of many, many, many Kenyans who could be undergoing the same. Actually, Kramba, Bifalin, you remember, Bifalin, no, Kramba, he died. Yeah.
So, Chair, I think the case of Ambassador Sigei is Mr. Kitur, right? Yes, and I'm told that his case is still ongoing in the Public Service Commission as a disciplinary issue. Mr. Chair, you know sometimes, let me be very honest, you know sometimes we all know that this chief is indisciplined or some way has committed certain, let me use sins so that I don't use legal, some sins in the village. But to provide the evidence in court may be very difficult. And even there may be no witnesses who go to court. But you can tell as a public officer that if this chief continues to be in office, either sexual offenses are not being dealt with in that area, or he is also being suspected of a similar offense, or is a drunkard, you know, but by virtue of court processes, he remains around, and illicit brews and all that are all going in a particular place. So the challenge is that, yes, you can have a court order saying this person is not, is okay, is not guilty, and so forth. Sometimes we may have to think of maybe giving them even some different clerical work elsewhere to just meet the same concerns you raised earlier, that person must meet certain threshold of integrity when serving in a particular locality. So there has to be a room of some level of discretion without so much vindictiveness on how to deploy such people after they succeed even with a court process to shield the community. Because if that person already had a case and some people are witnesses in their community and so forth, you can see that even his performance is going to be hampered. So maybe we need to have that kind of discussion.